Hey gang, I'm here today with some new Holiday 2016 test candles. Shockingly enough, or not shockingly enough I suppose, they're starting to appear in the test stores in DC, Virginia area, as well as I believe Atlanta, and of course, you know, the home base of Ohio. So I've got a couple that I want to go through today with you, but I'm gonna do the separate videos for the different collections because obviously even though I didn't buy all of them, I certainly have opinions on all of them in the different collections. So before I get into the hot cocoa and cream, just briefly run through the ones that are in this collection, tell you what I think, what I like, what I don't like, whatever. There are 4 collections. Not sure if there's really a name for each of them yet. This is just like this sort of general Christmas one that can be a little of anything Christmas related. I'd say a little bit more Christmas versus just winter or holiday seasonal. And so what's interesting with these ones, so I like the fact, we'll start with what I like about them. Labels I didn't think I liked at first, but the more I see them, I think they kind of work together. I love the fact that it is frosted glass, it's colored frosted glass. All of it, all white wax. You've got sort of a little, I don't love the tree, but whatever. A tree embossed standard silver lid. But I like, first of all, many times those could be lidless, so I like that there's a lid at least on them. And the colors are actually really nice because if you just get the white glass, or the clear glass rather, with the colored wax, it doesn't always show as strongly as this, which I think just looks really nice. The only thing with this one is there's a scratch in it, if you can see that there, I'm not sure, that I think was maybe at the factory or something, because it doesn't seem like it would scratch off easily with a fingernail, but the brown did scratch off to show just sort of a clear undercoat. Now, in this one, there are about 10 cents, almost all returning favorites that you know. So, I mean, favorites is a strong word, but you got your winter candy apple, marshmallow fireside, which a couple of years ago they decided is fall and winter. I don't like it. It's very just fall for me, but they throw it in because it was popular. Twisted peppermint, evergreen, 'tis the season, flannel, which is another one for me that, I mean, that started originally as, I think, one of the fragrances in the failed Forest collection from 2012, and they brought it back as flannel in the fall once of I think maybe even 2012 or 13, and then of course it's just been back every year since. And to me it is very cologne-y. I don't dislike it, but there's nothing about it that makes me love it or say I need it every year, or any year really. What else is in that one? So it's the season. You have snowflakes and citrus, which to the best of my knowledge has been out for a couple of years. It's kind of, you know, along the lines of the sparkling icicles. It just is a little weird. It's, I think, more of a soap fragrance, where it has, not that it is soapy, but it's in soap form. And it has citrus, has a little bit of coolness to it, but it also has what they call an iced melon. So for me, that makes it just far too fruity to be a winter scent, unless it was something like a cranberry pear Bellini or a winter sangria or something that was more wintry. I just think it's pretty generic, I think. So really the only potential newness, well, there is spiced gingerbread, which was out years ago as frosted gingerbread. Was out for a few years, seemed to be fairly popular, a decent gingerbread scent. It always had a weird sort of like, this is gonna sound weird, but like a Tostitos hint of lime tortilla chip scent. Not that it smelled like lime, but it specifically smelled like tortilla corn chips. Just not entirely, enough that it still smelled like gingerbread, but it was also like, what does this remind me of? And that's what it was, which is super weird, but it was fine. I burned it maybe once or twice, like 1 or 2 years. It was out in, I think, 2013 when they did a ton of White Barn releases before there was the White Barn Core collection in all White Barn stores before they became popular. And it was actually out as a test scent and failed for whatever reason. That was a year also, I think, maybe when it was like the autumn snow, vanilla cedarwood, vanilla fireside year, where there were just tons of scents that tested and failed. But I liked it. I bought it then too. I haven't burned it, you know, for a while, but it's a good one. I hope it does continue to be successful and go wide. I don't think Fresh Balsam is in this collection. I think it's just the 10 that I've mentioned. Evergreen is there, which for me is a really great Christmas tree, whereas Fresh Balsam, as I've said before, is very much conceptual, very season-wide, whereas Evergreen is much closer to a true Christmas tree for me. And then the 2 in here that are new-ish, debatable. First is this hot cocoa and cream, which I thought was just gonna be some generic, boring, you know, rehash of the different types of chocolates they've tried to do in the, you know, mint mocha bark, chocolate mint, dark chocolate mint, whatever, peppermint, some sort of mint chocolate that they've done, you know, in different forms over the years and in different names. versus the 2011 hot chocolate candle, which I bought and I didn't love, but I bought back when I first got into some of the test scents back in 2011, which was like the best year for test scents in my opinion. But the one other thing in this collection that I do definitely want to cover, because I think a lot of people are excited by it, because there's lots of folks who are obsessed with the bakery fragrances or newness, which of course new is totally fair. And I didn't purchase it because I don't like it, and that is Maple Cinnamon Pancakes. Now I know a lot of people are probably kind of freaking out over this one. To me, you know, I wasn't sure what to expect going into it. I thought it would be some version of, you know, your caramel vanilla swirl or one of the many, you know, pumpkin blends that they've had that are not really pumpkin-y at all over the past couple of years with their fall collections. And I sniffed it and I sniffed it and I couldn't think, but it smelled familiar, and then it hit me. Absolutely 100%, and not a lot of people maybe remember this one because it hasn't been around full-time for quite a while. It is a full-on repackage, really in my opinion, not even a repackage with a twist, but a straight-up dupe of Pumpkin Caramel Latte. Now, that one first came out in 2011, was out in 2011, I think 2012, and by 2013-14, I think maybe one of those years it came out wide. One year it was a test that failed and didn't go wide, and then last year, I think it might have been potentially one of the layers in one of the pumpkin or fall triple layer candles with the different fragrances, but don't quote me on that to be positive. But what was weird about the Pumpkin Caramel Latte is didn't really have much of a pumpkin note to it, definitely didn't have any spice or pumpkin spice to it, and actually had no latte to it in the form of espresso or coffee or cafe au lait style to it. It was really just an incredibly, incredibly very syrupy, sweet, milky caramel. Again, really no spice, no cinnamon, no nutmeg, nothing on that side. Really just, you know, again, a type of caramel, not the salted caramel that we know, or the caramel swirl, or the different variations you get in the cheesecake and the pumpkin spice and the French toast and all that crap that's out, but just a very true, sweet, 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 almost like condensed milk caramel. Not really a burnt caramel, very, very just became caramel, sort of light milky caramel. So again, that's the latte, is the steamed milk side. I know people will debate me or argue me on this, whether they think it is or not, but before I heard, you know, from anyone else, I sniffed it and I was thinking, what could this be? And then 5 minutes later, it hit me and oh, that is 100% pumpkin caramel latte. And then I know a few folks have sort of thought that on their own as well and agreed or disagreed, but I have no question in my mind that's what it is, which is really stupid. It's kind of a bummer that, you know, it's this scent that wasn't necessarily all that popular, but they think they can throw pancakes in it and there's no bakery note to it whatsoever, and make it be a top seller. And the sad thing is, it's probably true. The other thing is, I don't know why maple cinnamon pancakes would be a Christmas creation. Throw a bakery collection out there in the spring or sometime, anytime throughout the year, and sure, maybe you can make something like that. But what's the point? You know, you can do so many different sort of bakery Christmas creations if you wanted to do, you know, a fruit cake, a spice cake, snickerdoodle, pizzelles, anything in the world, but to do pancakes and then not to actually execute it as pancakes and it just have it be another sugary sweet caramel is just stupid. So definitely a huge pass on that. I don't recommend anyone buying it unless they remember and loved the sugary sweet syrup of Pumpkin Caramel Latte, aka just milky caramel. So, but that does leave us with hot cocoa and cream. And so when I saw this, I really thought that collection of 10 candles wouldn't be for me, that eventually maybe I'd grab an evergreen or a 'tis the season in there, just because they're sort of standards, but no need to get them now and this early when I'm not burning them yet. But I smelled hot cocoa and cream and, you know, shockingly, it won me over. So let me tell you what I get from it. So the notes on this one are decadent milk chocolate, fresh steamed milk, and mini marshmallows. Oops. And boy, oh boy, this smells just like hot cocoa. Now it smells like your abuelita, it smells like your Swiss Miss powdered hot chocolate. Not so much your like thick syrupy, maybe if you get like a hot chocolate from, say, Starbucks, not so much on that angle. More so on the, you've got powdered milk and powdered cocoa with sugar. And that's what you get. It's heavy on There is that milkiness to it and very heavy on the powder. So it's almost like a packet of Swiss Miss versus a steaming cup of it. The marshmallow, sure, you even get sort of that dry, crunchy marshmallow that's in like the Swiss Miss packets. To me, I do think this is likely a straight up repackaged dupe of the 2011 hot chocolate because that was the closest to a true hot chocolate. There's no mint in this. It's definitely nothing of the mint, peppermint, mocha bark, mint chocolate, peppermint marshmallow, all that kind of stuff. None of that. So I have a tiny or a small single wick of the hot chocolate in storage, but don't have access to that right now to sniff and compare. I feel like that one might have been a little bit more on the milky, kind of like that sour milk note that you get in the like the spiced cheesecake, in my opinion. That's the old repackaged from also 2011, a failed test. Because you do get some milk in this, but I feel like it's probably the same one from 2011. If it's different, this could be a little bit heavier on the powdered cocoa, the true like Dutch cocoa powder, you know, that you use for baked goods. And in fact, if they wanted to create a chocolate, or rather if they wanted to create a cookie, they could have named this some sort of chocolate drop snowflake cookie or something, because it really does have a very authentic cocoa powder, like a nice dried cocoa powder to it with the creamy milk without being too overly sugary sweet. So I'm actually kind of a fan of this. It's a little bit more authentic and true to what the name is supposed to be. So I haven't burned it yet. Won't burn it until we get closer to, you know, say maybe November or so. But in general, it's something different than the mint chocolates they've been doing, and certainly better than anything else really in that collection outside of your standard evergreens and 'tis the seasons and things like that that I also do enjoy. But so that's about it for this collection of 10. Stay tuned. I've got a couple more videos for the sort of Celebrate the Night collection as well as the more conceptual outdoors collection, and we'll talk through all of those. And then until next time, take care.